80s, and it's just really bizarre because it should be cooling down, but it's not.
Yeah.
So, and it's raining a lot, which also, again, not very typical because this is kind of around the time where it just starts cooling down. There's no rain, but there's just been so much rain, and that's why my electricity was out last week because it was raining so
Oh,
bad.
dang. Oh,
So I don't
wow.
know. Yeah, I think weather is just weird everywhere right now.
Yeah, definitely. James, where are you tuning in from?
Okay, let us know. Yeah, I
Okay, I see we
just
are live.
streamed. I just started streaming on YouTube. Yay!
Perfect. I will watch the chat there.
Yes, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Um, James, since you're the only one in our webinar at the moment, in case your name doesn't sound familiar, but if you have reached out to either of us and I forgot, I'm really sorry about that. But my name is PJ. I'm the Director for Strategic Communications and Recruitment at the KIC, and a lot of my what I do is just communications, pre-arrival stuff, social media, and then just whatever else I need help, I get asked to do. Violet, do you want to do a quick introduction as well?
Yeah. My name is Violet Kind. I'm the International Enrollment Coordinator here at the Kearney International Center. So if you do reach out to us for customer service, a lot of times it's me or one of our international enrollment assistants that gets back to you. A lot of times it's me if you call. So yeah, so it's nice to get to know students a little bit like on their journey to getting enrolled or getting everything ready to come to MSU. And then we get to meet you in person eventually, which is the best part. So, yeah, thanks for being here today.
Very exciting. It's getting colder as well. So for those that are coming in the spring, I mean, it's not getting colder yet, but it will.
It
So by
will,
the
we think.
time, yeah. So by the time you're here in January, it's going to be really, really cold. At least most springs it's been like that. I feel like just the past year, just weather's been kind of weird, but it's still gonna be weird. Don't get me wrong. I mean, not weird. It's still gonna be cold. I meant to say,
Might
don't get
also be
me.
weird.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna quickly share my screen now, and then we can quickly talk about tuition and fees today. Can you see my screen okay?
Um, there it is. Got it.
Yay. Okay, I'm gonna start presenting then. Okay. Um, yeah, and like Violet said, we're very excited as well to meet you guys for spring. It's just a few months away, which is crazy to think about that it's almost the end of the year. Um, so yeah, I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. I haven't had my
Completely
coffee
not.
yet, so I'm a little out of it. But yeah, so a few things that we're going to go over today is planning your budget, how to make payments, health insurance costs, scholarships, and assistantships if there's any graduate students watching this, or if you're going to watch this on YouTube eventually. So, assistantships, working on campus and employment. This should be a very quick session, like I said before. And then eventually at the end, if you guys have questions, you can absolutely just reach back out to us. Oh, hi, Tanvir. Hi, Saiful. Hi, James. Welcome back. So, just a few very important things to go over. There might be times where you might not understand what I'm saying, and it's totally okay to put it in the chat and ask for clarification so either me or Violet can respond to you. I have opened the chat this time. Usually, we just leave everything to the Q&A box, but because it's a small group on Zoom today, feel free to like put it in the chat. And Saiful and Tanvir, if you want to let us know where you're watching from, that would also be awesome. All right. So, how to plan your budget as you're like talking to your sponsor, as you're gathering things and kind of trying to decide, like trying to like figure out how much finances to have. how to like wire money and things like that, here's a frame of reference for you as you're thinking about your journey to MSU. Estimated cost of attendance. So this is everything that's on your I-20. So just make sure you look over your I-20 carefully. Um, and then there's some costs that are also not included in the I-20, which I feel like sometimes we don't think about that you should be thinking about. So some of the costs that are not included in the budget is your CVIS I-901 fee, obviously, so that if you have already paid it and have already scheduled a visa appointment, you already know about this. So $350 for the whole year. So God forbid, if you still don't have your visa yet and you have an appointment soon and you get denied, this is valid for a whole year. So if you weren't able to get your spring and you're trying to come here in the fall, that is still within that 12-month time reference. So you're not going to have to pay for that again if you're, again, going to an interview within 1 year. However, again, if it kind of extends beyond that 1 year, then you'll have to pay that again. So just keep that in mind. Visa fees, $185. Also double check with your embassy in your country. Sometimes the cost can fluctuate a little bit depending on where you are, but typically we see $185 visa fee. Travel expenses, of course. So that's airfare, shuttle, hotels, or any other expenses. So if you come to MSU, come to Minnesota really late and you have to get a hotel, that's an extra cost. So just like kind of keeping these things in mind as you're gathering your belongings together and getting ready for a really big journey. All right. So, undergraduate students, your tuition and costs, this is also available on our website. But if, and this is also what's on your I-20. So if you wanted to like kind of look over it on our website, that's totally fine as well. But here's your tuition and fees, an estimated tuition and fees cost for the 2026-2027 year. So you'll see that there's also two different, I guess, columns on here. So one is with the Maverick Scholarship, one without. All of our new undergraduate international students automatically get the International Maverick Scholarship. So what you're going to want to look at is the left side of this left side. So the left row. The right row is if, for example, if you're already after you're here and you fail to meet your minimum GPA requirements, and if you lose your scholarship, that is when that would be what you would owe. Again, we find that students are usually able to renew the scholarship until they graduate. So that's one advice I can definitely give you is just make sure you are, on top of your assignments, on top of your classes. And we are also here for support if you need any extra support, if you want us to like refer you somewhere. But here's what the estimated tuition and fees is going to look like. So your tuition, your living expenses, we have included the living costs for living on campus in the dorms and food, so a meal plan on campus. So that's the cost you're seeing right now. If you decide to live off campus, or if you have a different budget, that could look very different. So this is very much dependent on you and what you want to do. Other estimated costs as well. When you're here for your international student orientation in January, there's a $200 fee for the orientation that's going to be on your account. Books and supplies, again, we put 1,400, but that can vary so much depending on what classes you're taking, what textbooks you have to buy for those classes. So 1,400 again is just an estimated cost. Personal expenses also 2,600. That's also an estimated cost. So depending on you and how much you want to spend, the number might be higher or lower. Health insurance is required, so that's definitely something else that I want to really reiterate during this webinar today is you are going to be required to pay health insurance during your orientation week. So January 5th through the 9th, the week that you're here, our peer mentors will take you to get to the cashier's office to pay your health insurance. You can also pay it from back home if you'd like. But for those that are coming in the spring, your rate is going to look slightly different just because you're coming in between that halfway period. Because usually our health insurance cost goes from August to July of the next year. I don't know, Violet, do you know what the cost might look like for insurance? It's totally okay if you don't, but just in case anybody's curious.
I was muted.
Yeah,
No,
I was like,
I
wait,
don't know what the change is gonna be yet. Sorry.
very good. I thought you were like thinking about your answer, which is why I didn't say it. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the overarching like expenses and amount that you would need to have with you. And again, you had to like show your bank statements and your sponsor, so you kind of are familiar with these costs. If we have any graduate students watching this, your estimated tuition and fees for fall and spring is as you see on the screen, so 7,609 per semester. Unfortunately, international graduate students are not eligible for the International Maverick Scholarship. So just wanted to like to reiterate that. The other expenses, however, are going to stay the same. So your international student orientation fee is still 200. Your books and supplies, all of those estimated costs are still the same. Health insurance, again, you are required to pay for during orientation. So that is going to stay the same as well. The one cost that you don't see on the screen right now is the housing costs, but again, it's going to stay the same that we have on this screen right here. So 13,376 for food, so a meal plan and living on campus. Now, if you choose to live off campus, you can totally do that. Um, we find that students that tend to live on campus, their first year have a higher GPA, slightly higher GPA than students that live off campus, but that doesn't mean that you will not be academically successful if you live off campus. I lived off campus my entire undergraduate like time and my graduate time. So again, totally up to you. However, I will say though, looking back on it, I do feel like I wish I had stayed on campus my first year, at least my first year, only because you're just so much closer to everything. You have so much more time as a freshman than you do as a junior or senior. And so I would have been able to like really be involved on campus and get to events on campus so much easier because I would always, as an undergraduate student, like when I was still a freshman, I would be like, well, I'll go home, take a nap, and come back and go to this event. I never did just because I was so tired and then I'd have to get on the bus. So, but again, ultimately, personal preference, you do you. All right, so how to make payments and how do billings work? Students are billed per semester. So even though you see that we have given you like that 12,784 for your tuition, that is not what you're paying in like when you get your orientation. So definitely just something that we want you to know. You are billed every semester. So when you're here during orientation in January, so January 5th through the 9th, you will go through like all of our orientation events, pay your health insurance, and then register for classes. And then their following week, the first week of classes, when things start, that's when that amount is going to show up on your e-services. So your tuition cost is going to show up after orientation. Typically, that is what we find because again, we are kind of waiting to see how many credits you're registered for and things like that. You must make health insurance payments before you're allowed to register for classes. Orientation fee is $200, which again will be put onto your account the week after orientation. And your tuition will also be billed after you register for classes. Usually for orientation, I don't have the full schedule for spring yet with me at least to look at, but usually how orientation works is Monday and Tuesdays when you do all of the bigger stuff. And then Thursday typically is when students register for classes. Again, that might look different this year, this coming year, I don't know, but you pay everything and then you register for classes. You meet with your academic advisor and then you pay for your classes. So, and then the following week you get billed for everything. Am I missing anything, Violet? Okay. So what are the options that you have to make payments? One of the few websites that we do recommend is Flywire. And the reason why we recommend Flywire is because you have a direct bank transfer, and we also find that they have the best exchange rates possible. Depending on where you are, we know how expensive it can get to convert, like to send money from one country to the US and how exchange rates can make a big difference on how much money is actually getting sent over here. Flywire usually have really good exchange rates and they are direct bank transfer. And the best part is they have a standard transfer fee. So typically sometimes we'll see that whenever you're doing an international transfer, you'll notice that they charge more depending on how much amount is getting sent, or they charge less. So with Flywire though, it's great because it doesn't matter if your family or your sponsor is sending you $3,000 or $5,000 or $7,000, you have like that to just that standard $25 transfer fee, which I think is very important to like note. If you go through our website, I can try and find that website for you and put it in the chat if I remember, or if Violet you want to see, if you can put that link in the chat for our students. You can also pay online from back home. So if you want to use your credit card, you can absolutely do so. Otherwise, you also have the option of paying in person. We do highly encourage you to bring your funds, especially for your insurance, health insurance, with you for orientation week. You have to pay your health insurance in order to be able to register for classes. So please don't show up without the funds for it. Otherwise, you will not be able to register for classes, and that can cause a whole lot of other issues. So you can pay in person, so you can either bring cash, you can either pay with cash also, credit card, debit card, you can even pay with Apple Pay, so whatever is most convenient for you. The last option is for students that want to enroll in an automatic monthly payment plan. This does not mean that you don't have to pay for health insurance. You'll still have to pay for health insurance. However, for your tuition, if you want to enroll in a monthly payment plan, you can absolutely do so on our website. There's typically a deadline to sign up for the monthly payment plan, but it's great because you can then kind of break down your tuition payments to like two over 2 months or over 3 months, depending on when you sign up for it. There is a $34 enrollment fee per semester, so please keep that in mind if you are going to be doing a monthly payment plan. I would encourage you to read the whole thing carefully, and just make sure that you're making the payments on the right dates each month. Otherwise, you could get charged a late fee. Um, so thank you for sharing that, Violet. All right, scholarships. As we talked about earlier, all of our new undergraduate international students automatically get what we call the International Maverick Scholarship. In order to continue having the International Maverick Scholarship, you just have to maintain your F1 status and continue to maintain a 2.5 term GPA or a 3.0 cumulative GPA. Very doable as long as you're going to your classes, as long as you're, submitting your assignments and all of that. You should be able to maintain this and continue to have this scholarship. Once you're enrolled as a student, I think this is a question that we get a lot is, are there additional scholarships for international students? There absolutely is. Once you are a student here, February of every year, we call it our scholarship month. So that's when literally hundreds of scholarships are opened up for our current students to apply for, and these can range from leadership, academic, volunteer-based, um, employment-based. There's just a whole range of scholarships that you can apply for, and that is what a lot of our students do. And then once as we get closer to scholarship month, we also do provide a lot of reminders for our students. You'll also see a lot of posters around campus and tabling happening for scholarship month, so you'll definitely know that it's happening when you're here. Otherwise, feel free to put a reminder on your calendar. Why not? All right. Housing. For those of you that are watching, I don't know if you guys have already like decided on housing yet or what the plan is, but if you want to let us know in the comments too, that usually helps me kind of know what to focus on. So if most of you guys are gonna say you guys want to live on campus, I'll focus more on that, or the other, vice versa. But housing wise, if you are looking to live on campus, housing applications will open October 6th. I'm pretty sure it's October 6th. So If you're looking for housing and you're like, I don't see anything on there, they haven't opened yet for spring 2026. They will open next week. So just keep an eye on that. And again, you do all of that on e-services. It's just brilliant. But depending on if you're living on campus or off campus, your average costs could look a little different. When you're living, I'm gonna quickly move forward and go back. All right. It's very, again, personal preference. What do you want to do? If you are living on campus, you are required to get the meal plan that comes, and there's so many options. There's like 4 options for meal plans that can vary depending on what your budget is and how much you're planning to eat on campus. Um, but here is a quick comparison for you. We will have a housing webinar coming up October 31st, so Halloween. We are going to be having a more in-depth housing session, so definitely sign up for that if you haven't already. But I'll just quickly speed run this one just so you have it as a reference. We put on average monthly costs, but again, this can look very different. If you are living on campus, your average monthly cost comes out to about 1,400. Um, it says 12 months, but that's not true. Housing on campus is 9 months. Summer is not included. You can sign up for housing in the summertime, but I think that really depends and if you get approved for it. So it says 12 months, but it's not. It's 9 months. That's my bad. Um, You are required to sign a contract, so it could be a 1 to 2 semester contract. So if it's a 2 semester, and usually once you sign a contract, that's binding. It's really hard to cancel any contract, whether it's on-campus housing or off-campus housing. We'll talk more about that. But it's very important that you read before you sign anything and you know what you're signing for. Um, it's easy to like not read things carefully and like thoroughly, but it's very important that you do. So the average monthly cost comes out to about 1,400. Includes room and meal plan, does not include summer months, so it's 9 months. My bad, guys. Requires 1 to 2 semester contract. However, when you do sign up for housing, there is a deposit that you have to pay, and it's $300. I'll keep that in mind if you are going to be signing up for housing or applying for housing next week. There's a $300 deposit. There's 5 different residence communities that you can choose from, ranging from the suites to our standard rooms. And you can choose to live with 1 other roommate or 2 other roommates, really depends on your budget. There's 4 meal plan options for you, like I said before. The biggest advantage of living on campus is that you're on campus. You're a short walk to classes and other events. Also remember that you are coming in the spring, so January when it's really, really cold, and I think you will really appreciate being on campus versus having to commute to work. Speaking from personal experience, winters can be pretty harsh. Everything is included in one bill and paid on e-services. I think that's the biggest I think one of the biggest advantages of living on campus is all of your bills are in one spot and you don't have to like navigate 5 different websites or 5 different places. Um, but in a way, if you have to do that, it also really forces you to be independent. And when you're moving away from home and going to a country where your English is probably not your first language and you're doing all that, it can be a lot of pressure, but it can also be very liberating as well. Off-campus housing, we put down an average cost of 1,200, but again, this can fluctuate depending on if you have the whole apartment to yourself or you have 3, 4, 5 other roommates. But 1,200 is the average cost that we've put down for 12 months. And this includes rent, utilities, renter's insurance, food, all of that. Typically, if you're living off campus, there is a 12-month lease, and you also have to pay a security deposit like you do for living on campus. Security deposits can range very differently. For some places, I have lived in places where the security deposit was only $150, but I've also lived in places where the security deposit is the whole month rent. So definitely double check and make sure you have those funds before you're signing the lease, and also make sure you confirm what the amount is for the security deposit. Once you move out, they do a check of the unit and how the condition that you've left the unit in, and then they return whatever amount they can actually return to you because they use that security deposit as like okay, is the paint like are there like 500 like holes in the wall from nails? Like they use that, they deduct that money from the security deposit and return whatever is left. Again, the best other thing is you can live alone or with roommates, very much like living on campus. You can kind of decide on what you want to do and what your budget is. If you're living off campus and you're someone that hates cooking, that's totally fine too, because you can get the meal plan even if you live off campus. So that's an option that's available for you, in case you're someone that doesn't know how to cook, or doesn't want to cook. Up to you. Free bus service. MathCard is your student ID card. I don't have it with me, but that's an ID card that you will make during orientation week. Um, the bus service is not just available to students that live off campus. I know I've kind of phrased it in a way where it might sound like that, but even if you're living on campus, you can still use the bus. All you need is your student ID card. The other thing with living off campus, again, like I said before, is you are responsible for paying the rent and utilities monthly on time to avoid late fees, especially for your unit. Usually, your rent is due the first of the month. So October 1st is when your rent would be due. And if you're late a couple days, they will kind of start piling on that late fee charge. So you really want to make sure you're paying rent on time and utilities. Um, I know we talked about like a contract here, but if you notice, if you'll see here, I said if you're living off campus, you have a lease. And when you sign that lease, what is a lease? Is a contract between you and the person, so the unit that you're signing in exchange for like a time frame in exchange for a payment. So a lease is a legally binding document that you are signing. Leases are generally 12 months long and they don't always include utilities. So the place that I'm at right now, I pay for gas, electricity, and Wi-Fi separately from my rent. What's included in my rent is water and trash. So I don't have to pay for that, but everything else, so gas, electricity, and Wi-Fi are different platforms that I had to sign up for and I have to pay for monthly and I have to pay them on time. So just an example of that. Again, you might honestly find a place where all the utilities could be included, which is awesome, but if it's not, you want to make sure that you're signing up for them on time. So what are utilities? Utilities are basic services such as water, sewer, electricity, gas, I was gonna say water again. I already said water 5 times. Trash and recycling. You must sign up for utilities separately and you will be billed separately as well. Most apartments will not include all utilities. Again, like I said before, a lease is a legally binding contract and you cannot just leave the apartment midway through the lease. If your lease is for 12 months, you have to stay there for 12 months. You can't just say after 6 months, like, actually, I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm going to, can't do that. Read the lease carefully and completely before signing. It's very important you do so. Reading the lease is how I found out, oh, okay, I have to like pay for electricity, gas, blah, blah, blah separately. The lease will also include things like if you want to own, like if you are plan to have a pet, what that looks like. Some apartments do not allow pets at all. So, just making sure you read the lease carefully for that. Noise violations. Some apartments do have rules around that you can't have parties after 10 p.m. at night during the weekdays because people need to go to bed. All of that information is in your lease. So make sure you read it carefully. You could also be asked to get renter's insurance. I had to do that for my current place. I didn't have to do it at any of the other places I've lived at. So again, it's very dependent on where you want to live. Once a lease is signed, you cannot back out. So be very careful about this. Okay, kind of like going away from from what I was talking about. Health insurance here says 2640, but it's actually 2700 is what's listed on your I-20. So this is from, I think I forgot to update it from fall 2025, which is why it says 2640. So this is my what's the word, PSA that this number is not correct. So you can't come back and say PJ said 2640. I never said that. I said, look at your I-20. So don't blame it on me later. It's kind of my fault though, so my bad. But yes, F1 and J1 international students are required to purchase student health insurance in the US. United Healthcare is the Minnesota state insurance provider, and that is where you would be getting your insurance from. Estimated cost of insurance for 12 months is 2,700 and will be paid annually. Again, for those that are coming here for spring 2026, because you're coming in like a halfway period, your insurance cost could look a little different. Health insurance must be paid before class registration. I can't believe I missed this. I even did like look, I even looked at my presentation like 5 times before I downloaded it, and I still didn't see this. Oh my God. Okay. Graduate students. I don't know if we have any graduate students watching this right now, but if we do, because international graduate students don't get the International Maverick Scholarship, we do get some inquiries from students about like jobs on campus, assistantships. This is what we usually recommend our graduate assistants to do is to look for a graduate assistantship or teaching assistantships. To preface, GA ships and like TA ships are pretty competitive and you have to start early. So just because we're saying like, oh, look for graduate assistantships, they can be hard to get. So just a forewarning. However, you might want to start looking early. You do have to be admitted to the university before you can apply for assistantships. But if you're watching this, I'm gonna assume that you are an admitted student. Students with a GA ship will still need to show funding. So if you already have a GA position offered to you, you will still need to show funding for your I-20. So just letting you know. Up to the good thing about having a graduate assistantship is you get a tuition waiver. You get paid a stipend per academic year. So you get paid like a salary every month. And then you work, and in order to continue having that graduate assistantship, you just work a certain amount of hours. Now, sometimes students can just get a part-time graduate assistantship or a full-time graduate assistantship, so it really depends. So the 10,000 stipend could look very different if you have a part-time assistantship. So just keep that in mind as well as you're looking for assistantships. All of our assistantships are posted on our website. So if you do MNSU graduate assistantship vacancies, that's where you'll see all of the openings and what you can apply for. If you don't see any on there, that usually means that we don't have anything open at the time. So just letting you know. Violet, can you find the graduate assistantship vacancy thing and put it in the chat? Thank you.
Yes, and actually, I'm going to tell you the chat right now is only for hosts and panelists. So I guess the last link I put in there did not go to the chat either.
Oh no.
Um,
Here, let me do that. So this is where you would go to for the wire, fly wire information. That's what it was. Let me make sure. Here, I just changed
here I
that to
just sent you.
everyone.
Okay.
So you should
Oh,
be
perfect. Okay. So that one's for the
up.
graduate assistant. And this one is the payment options.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Employment. This is like a big question that we get asked a lot. At least I do, is employment on campus, which again, valid. International students are only allowed to work on campus. So I can understand why students usually ask, but it's very important for you to know that undergraduate students can only work up to 20 hours per week during the semester. Um, you can work more, up to 40 hours or full time per week during summer breaks and winter breaks. But when you're here during like fall and spring, you're only allowed to work up to 20 hours. when you're here during orientation, we'll talk more about how to apply for your like jobs on campus, what that looks like, what you need, what resources we have here for you in order to apply for those jobs on campus. So, but the tool that we use in case you want to do your own research, it's called Handshake. That's where all of our employers on campus post their listings. Graduate students are allowed to work up to 14 hours per week year-round, unless you're working as a GA or a TA. And then, like I said before, you can apply for jobs after enrollment at MSU through Handshake. So if you're a graduate student and you didn't get a graduate assistantship or teaching assistantship, you can still apply for like jobs on campus, is what I'm trying to say. It's just that there's a cap of just 14 hours per week. Immunization. So you are required to bring records of immunization if you have these. So we're looking at Tdap, so tetanus and diphtheria, MMR, so mumps, measles, mumps, and rubella. So if you have taken these vaccinations, get those records from your doctor and bring them with you, or email those records to Student Health Services at healthservices@mnsu.edu. If you do not have any immunization records to bring, so you're like, I actually don't know if I ever got these, like I don't know when the last time I got my tetanus, that's totally fine too. You will be asked to take the vaccinations after orientation week. So if you have these records, please bring them with you or email them to Student Health Services right away. If you don't have them, that's totally fine. It's not the end of the world. Student Health Services will just schedule an appointment with you to get those shots up to date. Okay, we're nearing the end of our session today, but Spring 2026 orientation. Attendance is mandatory. Orientation dates are going to be Monday, January 5th through Friday, January 9th. Violet, can you double check that? I'm pretty sure it's January 5th through Friday, January 9th. Now that I noticed that I didn't check the numbers earlier, I'm starting to doubt myself. Has to be the 5th. You're typically only allowed to enter the US 30 days before your program start date. So the first day you can enter the US is December 6th, 2025. So as you're looking and booking once you have your visa and you're booking your tickets, just make sure you remember this date. And you said yes, Violet? Yay! Okay, so orientation dates, mandatory Monday, January 5th through Friday, January 9th. So you're going to want to be in Mankato at least on or before January 4th, 2026. So you can be a little rested. If you come here on January 4th and you come here really late, you're probably going to be really tired on Monday, but we get it. But yeah, I would say just make sure you're here before January 4th, on or before January 4th, so you can come to orientation on campus January 5th. And the first day to enter the US is December 6th, 2025. And like I said before, if you're looking to live on campus, you might want to double check with them and make sure that you can do early check-in. If you're coming in really early, you need to get approved and all of that. So there's that. And we're very excited to meet you. I know it looks really green in the photos, but January can be pretty snowy. So if you're someone that has never seen snow before, I think it's going to be a really great experience for you. I'm going to assume that we're going to have some snow by then in January. If not, maybe it's probably going to be really cold, at least really cold. I know like a few years ago we had to like do a shorter orientation, spring orientation. I don't think Violet, I was still a graduate assistant, I think, at that time, and we had to do like a shorter orientation because it was snowing so bad, but then last year wasn't that bad. So let's see. We'll see what this year brings, this new year. And follow us on social media. We love having you guys there. That's also a really great place for you to ask some really like quick questions. So you can DM us and say, hey, can you confirm orientation dates again? And we will absolutely do that. You are also able to see what our current students are up to, their involvements on campus, some fun videos, behind the scenes, and more pre-arrival stuff. So how do you use the bus around campus? How do you get your MAV card? We'll have those videos up as we get closer to the spring orientation, but feel free to follow us, especially on Instagram, like all of the channels, but Instagram and TikTok is where we post the most. And our upcoming webinars for the rest of the year, this is not all of it because December will have a few more sessions, but these are just some of the few that are coming up. October 6th, we'll have a requesting your I-20 and visa prep. October 13th, what do you do if your visa is denied? We'll have another visa prep session, placement testing. So if you're someone that's curious about placement testing, what that looks like, what to expect for at placement testing, that's going to be a really good session to attend. Finding housing, we are actually going to be having our current international students at the webinar, so you'll kind of be able to see what they're up to, what they've done for housing, and ask them any other questions you want. And we are also going to be on Instagram. We're going to go live. We're actually going to probably set up the lives in a way where you can actually set a reminder on Instagram. So when we go live, you'll get a notification. I'll probably get to it maybe this week. And then if you guys follow us, you'll be able to see it. Otherwise, if you want to just put a reminder on your phone for these dates, we will be going live. And we usually go live for 20 minutes to 30 minutes. It really depends on how many students attend and how many questions we have. But all of the information is going to be on your spring 2026 pre-arrival calendars. It says spring 25. See, it's spring 26. Spring 26 pre-arrival calendar.
You
Um,
got it. It's the first time you've had to hype for spring 26, so good
I
job.
know. I'm like, um, thank you, Violet. But yes, so 2026 arrival, this calendar was sent to your emails, to your MNSU student email. However, you will also actually get it to the email that you apply to MSU with probably sometime today or tomorrow. So you'll have that link if you're someone that didn't have it. But because you're attending here, I'm going to assume that you already have this calendar or you were already on the KIC portal and you were able to register for it. So, but for those that are watching on YouTube or will be watching on YouTube later, we will also send that out to your other email. But it's already in your MNSU MAV mail, like your student MAV mail. So if you already have that, just log in and it's there. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now. Do we have any questions from anybody? I'm gonna assume you guys don't. Okay, cool. Any questions on YouTube, Violet?
No questions on YouTube. I just put our email address in the chat. So if anybody has any questions that you think of after this, feel free to email us international@mnsu.edu. And yeah, we're here to help. So please don't be shy to reach out if you have any questions. I know there's, a lot of information. And I think the fact that you're showing up to these webinars is a really good sign. You're here and you're getting all the information and preparing yourself. So keep up the good work, everyone.
Yes, and we are so excited to see you in the spring and, welcome you guys to campus. It might be a little cold, but the weather will warm up and perk up eventually. And summers are a lot of fun. Winters are also a lot of fun. You could look at it as an opportunity to do something out of your comfort zone. Go skiing, go tubing. There's usually a lot of free events, even when it's cold. The adventures don't stop. You should go ice fishing.
That's actually something I've never done. As somebody that has lived here all my life, I've never been ice fishing. Have you?
Yeah, Maverick Adventures usually does ice fishing events. And for
Oh, cool.
students, it's like I think $5 or $10, or sometimes it's even free. So you can sign up for it and they'll take you to Madison Lake. You can ice fish, bring a trophy home. I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
But
Well,
yeah,
yay.
thanks so much for joining us. We are gonna go get to work.
Yeah. Please reach out if you have any questions, anyone, and we'll see you at the next webinar, I hope.
Yes, see you guys next time. Bye.